When is the last time you felt just lonely, Ben?
There's probably a more recent time than this, but the first thing that came to my mind was there was years ago. This was like when I was a teenager. So there's definitely been many times since this, but this was one of the moments where I think I remember feeling like overwhelmingly lonely. As I had two friends, Cody and Justin, was super close with them. Like we were kind of the three of us were always hanging out, and we went to a summer camp thing together. And this is like how close of a friendship we had. We all had the same hat that we wore the whole week, and all this stuff. We were hanging out, and I don't even remember what exactly happened, but somewhere towards the tail end of the like 5 or 6 days we were at camp, there was like a rift in the friendship, and they both decided they didn't want to be friends with me. They were and like again, this is long enough ago. I don't remember all the details of what happened, but I just remember like leaving the cabin that us and a few other guys were in, and like walking around camp and just like feeling overwhelmingly lonely. Like the people who are closest to me have rejected me. Like what what do I do now? And I think I had done something that hurt one of their feelings, and they kind of like teamed up against me. And then because I remember going back and like after a couple hours being like, okay, I'll go apologize. So I apologized to them for whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. And they were like, no, we don't forgive you. And we're like, so like, get out of here. Yeah, it was heavy, man. Yeah. Like I definitely cried multiple times that afternoon and like the next day.
I'll be your friend.
That's good.
That's
49 episodes in. I'm glad to know that. Or whatever episode this is.
Yeah, it's when things end, especially when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were it's like there was this load that you were carrying?
For sure. Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
In this big world, I'm all by myself.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a feeling that my guess is pretty much everyone feels this at once or twice, or hopefully not too many more times than that in their life, where it's like, kind of like, how do I move forward in life when, I remember kind of feeling that, like sitting on the stone ledge that like looked out over the lake that the camp was built on, and just kind of being like, it was like this beautiful day out. I'm like, what do I do? Like the two people I was closest friends with have kicked me out of our friendship. And what do I do? Where do I go from here?
And we are just normalizing that in this world.
Yeah, for sure.
That right there, like we're talking about that. Whether it's the listener, whether it's someone that you know, I mean, a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah.
Every single
overwhelmingly lonely. Yeah.
And this is going to be a part 2 of our series of why real friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And what we looked at in part 1 was like, man, the God that we serve, before he created everything, there was a relationship between the Father and the Son before the foundations of everything.
Yeah.
Like the Father loved the Son and the Son loved the Father. And we were created in that image.
Mm-hmm.
We were created for relationships. And man, let's just look at scriptures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last episode, we were kind of primarily focusing on who God was. This
Yep.
episode, I think let's focus in on who are we in light of that, right? Like you mentioned, Genesis, we get the creation story. I think it's always wise whenever you're trying to answer a big question, like why real friendship? Why does friendship matter? Start in the beginning, because oftentimes the way things start determine a lot about how they go. And if we're created, like Genesis 1 and 2 says, in the image of God, I think there's like, that's said explicitly. And then in Genesis 2, and then God, you kind of get a recap of the creation story, kind of zoomed in, you get the details of the creation of humanity. And then God brings all the animals before Adam and has him name them. And then the one thing that God says in creation that is not good is that Adam is alone. All the animals have partners, male and female. Adam does not have that. And God's going through creating things. Night and day is good. Oh, this is good. This is good. The animals are good. Land and sea is good, but it's not good that man should be alone.
That's the one thing he said that was not good.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. Everything else was good, but that was the one thing. And when we look at that, we see that, oh, yes, there was that was the beginning of marriage.
Yes,
We see that definition, but so much more than that too.
Yeah, it's not just about marriage. It's about how we're created to function as human beings.
Yep.
It's not good for us to be alone.
We say that all the time. We say that, and you hear that, but why are we so against that?
Yeah.
Why are we so against? If we were created in His image, should we reflect that in our lives?
Yeah, the Bible seems to say so, right? If you were created, so here's the idea, right? The idea of image would be at the time period of the writing of Genesis, like this is going way back in time. The idea of image, when those readers would have heard it, would most likely make you think of like a statue, because it was common practice for kings or rulers in the ancient Middle East to, right, if they didn't have the internet, they didn't have cameras, so you're not going to be like, who's the king of this country, and going to be able to Google it and find out what he looks like. So what they would do is they would have these statues built and placed in all the cities where they're conquered, where they're ruling, so people can be like, oh look, there's our image of the king. So it's kind of this symbol of the king's power and rule and authority there, and that's at least part of what the idea is when God says, I'm going to create mankind in my image. They're meant to be beings who reflect or image forth, shine forth who God is on earth. So that's a part of fundamentally what our purpose is as humans. We're created to be reflecting God. And like we talked about last episode, God is fundamentally, essentially relational. He is a Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Which means and I think we mentioned this in the last episode too, if we're missing out on that, if we don't have that relational reality active in our life, then we're missing out on a key piece of what it means to be made in the image of God.
Yeah. And I think if you look at even from a science perspective, I don't agree with all of it says, but some of the things, it's even from the physical health, lower blood pressure, and from the mental side of things, reduces depression. And then from just I looked at this and I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. People with strong connections have 50% higher survival rate.
Yeah, strong relational connections. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, so if you don't have close friends, you're more likely to die.
Sooner
yeah.
than later. That's what it says,
Yeah.
So the science even says, agrees with.
Yeah, that's the APA, American Psychological Association, that's saying that. So fairly reputable organization.
For human flourishing,
yeah,
you need relationships. To live this life that Lord promises us, man, it's with Him and with others.
Yeah,
it's to love Him and to love those who are near you.
Mm-hmm.
To love your neighbors as yourself. So you were created for friendships. You were created for relationships, and you want to get this life to the fullest. Man, love Him with everything you have, and love those who are near you with everything you have. Just serve them.
Yeah.
Don't expect anything back.
Here's the challenge, though, I think, with that, is that, man, we live in a world, in a culture, in a place that really is structured, and even the messages that we pick up are so contradictory to that. It's what is the purpose of your life? Man, it's success. You need to make money and succeed, or you need to be famous, or you need to be well known, or you need to be, in general, friendship is kind of this thing that's over here, and probably the romantic relationship, generally with sex right at the center of it as the primary thing. That's here's money and sex. Those are the things you should, and probably success, which is tied to the money piece, because usually success means making a lot of money in the
well, if you're
Western
having
world.
success. I mean, if you're having sex with a lot of people and you have a lot of money, the world
Yeah,
defines that.
that's
Oh,
winning.
that's successful right there.
Yeah.
I want to be like just that guy. And what you find out when no one's watching that person, man, they are hurting.
Yeah. Because they're going against the way they were created, whether they know it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about our lives, right? So, like for me, even before college, there was a season in my life. I didn't have these guys till later on in my
Yeah.
life. But man, like I used more people.
Mm.
I took things that I shouldn't have taken. I dated girls that I shouldn't have dated. And I had all I wanted.
Yeah.
I had the successful businesses here. I had it, and it was just more. I want more. I want more. I want more. And then you realize, man, that's not even it. What I want and what I desire, man, it's like when I just surrendered in what he says about me and who he is too, and started living that out. And even when as I did that, and when he surrounded guys that were like-minded,
Yeah.
and I was pursuing him too, man, like you look at that moment in my life, it's like, what was I doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were just following. I mean, one, that's the desires of the flesh. Is he says more. I want more of the things that feel good, and that's also just kind of aligned with the messaging that's in the world around us. But I mean, so here's one practical application. If we really believe that we're created for friendship, that means that probably when you're making decisions about your life, if you're looking at like, say you get an offer for a job that's a significant promotion, going to make you some great money, be a next step, significant success, but it's going to eat up your life and move you away from the friends you have or from the church that you're a part of. The answer to that probably needs to be no.
All of us have blind spots.
Yeah.
And when you have a blind spot, that means you can't see it.
Yep.
Right? But the thing that is near you or the thing that's next to you can see your blind spot.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So like recently, there was this cool opportunity, through our church. And they were like, hey, we would love you to be part of this. And the staff came around and then they were like, hey, you should do this. And then I was like, I got all the information.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it to the guys. Hey guys,
the guys being like your group of friends.
Yeah, I was like, I sent it to the guys. Hey guys, could you guys look at this? I don't know what to do here. I think it would be cool. I think this would be something that it's not taking a lot of time commitment. And the things they saw, they're like, what do you mean it's not going to take too much time? What do you mean? It's just like, you're doing this here, you're doing that. Oh, what if that is like, let's just like
do
look
you
at
actually have 20 hours a week free, Lucas?
Yeah. So it's like, but it's having that though, because if it was by myself, I was like, yeah, I can do it. It sounds cool. And sometimes even something that's good, we can take it and make it bad.
Totally.
Or we don't know how to embrace our limits and having people near you. And I don't know if we're talking about something different here, but like, man, like I said, we all have blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
And you need people to see your blind spots. You need friendships to do that.
Yeah.
And
well, C.S. Lewis goes so far as I feel like I quoted this in a previous episode, so I'm not going to quote the whole thing. But in a letter that he wrote to, I think it was like his nephew or something like that, he goes so far as to say, like, you should evaluate and make a decision about where you live based on how close you're going to be able to be with your friends. If you have close friends, you should pick where you live so that you're close to those friends, rather than just deciding like, oh, this job opportunity is over there, or this is the nice part of town, or whatever. And I'm like, man, that's so contrary to the way that our culture functions. Most people will be like, yeah, if you got to move across the country and leave your family and your friends to get a job that's going to make you money and succeed in life from the world's definition of success, yeah, you should do that.
I have some friends in Dallas, and these guys, one of them is a chief surgeon at a big hospital. One of them is a principal at a high school, and one of them they're all doing amazing things, right? And It was so cool. And this is kind of when my eyes really opened, like I want a life like this. The most important thing to them was, hey, we're going to be close to each other.
Yeah.
If one of us is moving, we can't move further than the 50. Like here's some of those rules that we've set.
Yeah.
It's not the law, but this is what
Yeah.
we
So
said.
they had committed to each other. Yeah.
Commit, and now they're all living in the same like neighborhood. Like his house is right here, his friend's house is right here, and the other guy's right across the street right there. And people might think that's so weird, you know? But what you see is what people forget. Like all these guys have kids.
Yeah.
And their kids are now in all college. And guess what their kids are doing? They're all doing life together. They're all going to the same college together. They're all just like, they're so close.
Yeah.
They see how important it is for their parents. They're like, okay, this must be important to us too. So like, there's something beauty in that. Like these families are not doing life alone. And whether marriage has been saved through those friendships, whether it's, hey, there's this job offer, like this guy's like really good at what he does.
Yeah.
But he said, no, I'm not going to take it because this is more important to me. You know, so it's like just to see that and to hear the stories, like even the hard times, the good times, how they were just, the distance between them was so important.
Wow. Yeah.
I was getting, when I was there, me and my buddy went out there to visit them. We had a big pickleball tournament. It was so fun. But it's like just to see all of them just come together. Oh, Steve is over here eating lunch. Oh, Mike's over there. Oh, Steve is picking up Mike's kids to drop them. Like, it was just super cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's not to say that it's like inherently sinful to move across the country for a job or that there's never a time where you should, move away from family. But I think if anything, the world that we're in pushes us too far in that direction.
Yep.
And we need to take into account in the decisions we're making, the relationships that we have.
Why is it, you said it, I don't know if you asked this question earlier. Okay, I know I'm created for friendships. I know that. But it's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And we have to remember what sin is.
Yes.
What broken world is. You know, what we live in a broken world. And we're going to talk about that in our next episode.
Yeah.
But man, like sin just ruins relationships. Relationship with our Father, relationship with Jesus, relationship with our relationships that are near us, our friends, our family, our spouses. Like sin ruins relationships.
Yeah, and our own pride, I think, which is a piece of that sin, is one of the things that keeps us most from having real deep, meaningful relationships with the people around us. And we need to deal with that. Like you said, we'll talk more in future episodes about why is friendship hard. Like even I know I've had plenty of challenges and ups and downs in friendship, but regardless of whether that's hard, regardless of whether it's easy, the biblical message is clear, man. If you're created in the image of God, you were created for relationship. You need to prioritize those relationships. So if you're someone who's like listening to this and you're isolated by your own choice, you got to change those choices. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be easy, but it's going to be so worth it.
Yeah. Real friendships reflect God's design for humanity. And you were wired for it, and it's worth pursuing even when it's difficult, even when it's hard. It's worth it because as we do that, again, we reflect Him.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty in that. So.
Yeah. Well, that feels like a good thing to end on.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, friends. We love you. Just go first. And you don't have to have everything figured out.
That's right.
Go first. Go to Him first, and then go to those who are near you. So we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Hey, friend. Thanks for listening. We're all about equipping you to pursue real friendships. You were not created to be alone. Because life is just better with real friends. Let's get started.